Hi, my name is Linda Shi. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of City and Regional Planning. Congratulations on being admitted to our program. I was on the admissions committee and I was excited to see your application and excited to have you join us next year if that's what you choose. These are very difficult times and I hope you are doing well and that your family is doing well wherever you are in the world. We hope that these videos are a way of helping you better understand our program and making this momentous decision about the next 2 years of your life. I want you to know that all our faculty continue to be working, and if you have any question about housing, funding, opportunities, the program, what it's like to live here, health conditions here, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or to other faculty in the program. One of the most common questions that admitted students tend to ask is why Cornell and why study city planning in a place as small and as remote as Ithaca, which is the size of a village in some countries. For me, having been a student myself in MIT's planning program, Harvard's Graduate School of Design, and Yale School of Forestry, I see some very unique things that make Cornell stand apart, and I think those are important for people to understand in making this big decision. One is that we are located outside of a big city, and I think that that helps to give people a different perspective about cities and city planning. When you're within a big city, that city tends to take a lot of priority in the world. That becomes the center of the universe, and everything is seen from that perspective. When you're outside of a big city, you begin to realize that cities are complex and part of very integrated landscapes. There's a lot of space outside of cities, and a lot of other cities that are not the global, well known ones with the resources that they have. So it helps you be better able to understand places like the Rust Belt cities, declining places, but also secondary cities, tertiary cities, smaller cities, even rural communities that typify the number and by number and by population where most of the world tends to live. At the same time, we certainly also have our foot in the global big cities of the world, and there's course offerings, workshop classes, and research opportunities in New York City as well as in Shanghai, just to give two examples of some of the places where our students and faculty work. The second thing that I think is important to understand is when you're admitted to CRP, you're not just admitted to the department, but you're admitted to Cornell. And Cornell is the largest of the Ivies and it has extensive resources. The motto here is any person, any study. And from the any study part, you can see that a vast, diverse range of topics are taught and researched here at Cornell. So if you're interested in particular regions of the world, area studies in South Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, China, Africa, or American Indian and Pacific or American Indian and Indigenous Studies programs, we have very strong area studies in each of these areas. I urge you to look at Einaudi Center, which serves as an umbrella for all of these area studies programs, which bring in opportunities for student research funding, speaker series, as well as opportunities to meet other students and faculty researching in these areas. In addition, we have a very strong tradition in agriculture and veterinary sciences. And so those sides bring in a lot of studies of food systems as well as energy resources, water governance, public health, epidemiology. And so in each of these areas, again, there are funding opportunities, faculty opportunities for collaboration and for guest speaker interaction, as well as some of the field courses that take people to places based on these topical areas. There's also other programs like Engaged Cornell that's all about public participation and how to build engagement between research and actual policy practice, and that again comes with research funding opportunities. There's Atkinson Center for Sustainable Futures, which is a hub of sustainability at Cornell, and there's something like 500 plus faculty around campus who are affiliates of this center, to give you a sense of the number of faculty who are related in some way to making the world a more sustainable place. So whatever your interests, I urge you to explore, just Google Cornell and this other thing that you're interested in and see what other offerings are here at Cornell, and compare that to some of your other choices and decisions to see which place best suits your needs. The third thing I'll say that I really appreciate about our department is the ability to bridge and to integrally consider both theoretical perspectives and practice engaged professional experiences. I think that the theory, a lot of people, what is theory? I think theory fundamentally helps you better understand why something is happening, for better or for worse. And that critical understanding, that critique of our current situation, is what allows you to understand an inroad to making a change in practice. And at the same time, you have to be extremely practical because you have to intervene with very constrained realities. And so, in our teaching, fundamentally in the first semester, you'll be taking classes that one is urban theory and the other is intro to planning practice and history. And from that, you begin to see the narrative within our department about how do you marry across these two areas. I'll give you an example. For instance, Professor Mildred Warner's research, she's very critical of the kind of fiscal austerity that we've been seeing in economics and governance in countries across the world over the last several decades and the impact that has had. But beyond the critique, the kind of critique that's tied to neoliberalism, when you actually come down to what should we do in the face of these dynamics, she has very practical research and policy recommendations tied to how do you achieve rights for youth, for children, and for the elderly in cities that don't normally plan outside of the working middle-aged adult. How do you deal with fiscal austerity and the decline in tax dollars? What does that mean for cities, and how do they rebound? How do they recover? How would you change that? As another example, Professor John Forster, who's well known in his research of planning processes, understands very fundamentally that the world is an unequal, unfair place and that everyone is operating in a condition of underlying conflict. And yet, even so, planners have to act. They have to make choices about how to develop a plan, how to guide our decisions, how to resolve conflicts between two different groups. So there's a lot of coursework in this area that is related to facilitation, negotiation, mediation, and understanding dialogue and talking with others who are different. Or you might look at my work, which is on climate adaptation and building resilient cities. A lot of my research demonstrates that, unsurprisingly, in an unequal world, a lot of the things that we do for climate resilience are similarly compounding existing inequalities. But beyond that critique, what do we do? And so I look at drivers of institutions related to property rights regimes, of decision making in fragmented metropolitan landscapes, about property taxes and the fiscalization of land use. And so I think the marriage of theory and engaged practice makes this a very exciting place to be. And the last thing I'll say is about our curriculum and how open it is to students' own design. You'll hear more about the curriculum from Professor Stefan Schmidt's video, but I'll say that one of the core pieces that we require is an exit project. And this is, despite whatever language is out there to guide what an exit project is very flexible and open to interpretation, and that interpretation is guided by your faculty advisor, your committee chair for that. So as an example of some of the philosophy of our teaching, this is a place where really the student has to drive what they decide to do with the guidance of a faculty member. And so that faculty collaboration gives you a really important opportunity to develop strong ties to the faculty in the department and also to direct where you want to go. So again, I would urge you to look at the faculty in the department and see where their research or their teaching and their networking profiles align with your own. Only you can know what program best suits your needs. We hope that's going to be with us, and then we'll have a chance to see you next fall. Be safe, be well.